Hi everyone, and welcome to a new episode of ReelPR with me, Fiona Scott. Hope you're having a good day, good week, good month. I'm thrilled that today I'm joined by a young man that I've known for a really long time.
Not that young anymore.
Yes, you are, compared to me. But we'll get into that into a second. No, you've lost me now, bugger. So as you can see, Gareth Davis causes trouble. So let's get into it and find out more about him.
Thanks for having me.
So tell people how we first met. What's your memory of meeting the Scott family?
So obviously, you don't mind mentioning names, right?
No.
But obviously David
Yeah.
basically signed up for a martial arts class I was teaching, really. Westlea Primary School,
Yeah.
if I'm correct. My memory's normally pretty good, so yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that was the first thing, really, and I think him being involved was then obviously how we spoke about various business related things, marketing, those kind of things. After he had, because I don't know how long did he train for with us?
Gosh, he would have been, because I remember he was 5 or 6 when he joined, and the reason was I was a bit concerned that he wasn't sporty at all. He didn't enjoy team sports, much to Steve's disappointment, because Steve was really sporty as a kid. And
It's always the way.
Yeah. Also, I'd noticed when he was playing team sport, if someone didn't like him or was horrible to him, he didn't ever get upset. He would just walk off and not do it. He was also really struggled with maths and complex formulas. He would miss out steps. So I did a bit of research, because you're a researcher, and I thought, what can he do that's improves his fitness but might help him with these other things? And it just so happened someone mentioned you were doing a martial arts class at the school, and I thought, do you know, that might be good for him and allow him to challenge himself against himself and not against other people. And you were really good at pushing that.
Yeah, no, I mean, even now, I mean, if I'd not done martial arts, I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be where I am. So no, I'm a big advocate of anyone that can, that does martial arts. I think it's a really good. You can be part of a group, a class, but it's very individual, and everyone can kind of move at their own pace. If the instructor's good and the environment's right, I think that's it's a group activity, I feel, but very individual within that group. You're not, you don't have to be linked to a team or anything. So.
And there was just an ethics, and I've always remembered this, that you used to say something. It was something like you use martial arts in 3 environments: in class, to defend yourself, and at home with your parents' permission. That's what I'm sure you used to say that. Yeah. And what you don't know is that twice at secondary school, David, being not a bruiser, he's not an alpha male, twice he was bullied, and he just turned around to them and said, just to let you know, I've got a black belt on martial arts. Yeah. I'm giving you a warning. Yeah. And in both cases, they walked away.
Well, quite often a little bit of confidence, just to be able to say something that diffuses a situation can, ultimately the bully doesn't want to pick on someone that might, punch him in the face.
He was only ever hit once.
Yeah.
And that was in a football match.
Yep.
By someone who lost his temper. And all David said to him, he said, you will never touch me again or I will punch you. And I'm warning you. Because he knew it was done. One of those moments in sport where people can lose themselves. Some boys do that. But tell us how you started in martial arts, because you were really young, weren't you?
Yeah, and I think especially at the time as well, I went to a class and the other youngest person I think was 13, but I was 6 at the time. Full disclosure, I wanted to be a Ninja Turtle. I'm not going to lie, right? That was it. I just loved. No one in my family had ever done martial arts, and my granddad used to box, but no one had done martial arts. But I just always liked it, and and again, like you said, there was a class at a school. So my local school fete, I saw a demonstration, and I was like, "Can I go?" I think my dad said no 3 or 4 times, but I kept asking, and then. That was it, really. And then I just loved it. And there wasn't anything else that was just my thing.
You were obsessive about it, weren't you? I remember you talking to me about that.
Yeah, I trained every day. My dad would take me for 2 or 3 hours every night. After some time, also a competition on the weekend on either a Saturday or Sunday, and then, I was obsessed is definitely the word, because I was, that's all I did, basically.
I'm just going to throw in, for anyone listening to this, because I haven't actually said that and made it clear to people, that you were from Swindon and you
Yes.
were born and brought up in Swindon, weren't you?
Yep, born and
Yeah.
raised, yep, in Stratton. Yep.
Yeah, good old Stratton. Okay, so at what age did you become a black belt then?
When I was 8, so it was really young at the time. But I mean, in the 2.5 years, 3 years that I had trained, let's say I had done thousands and thousands of hours. More than most people would probably do in a 6-7 year time frame. But at the time, I was young. Yeah.
How did schoolwork and your academic work sit alongside that? Were you clever at school?
I was pretty good. I mean, I didn't do much school after GCSEs, but I got all A's and B's, so I was a good student. Good memory helps a lot, I think, when it comes to exams. So I could do a lot of cramming and and do well. But no, I was pretty good.
Do you think you always had a good memory, or did you think martial arts taught you that? It trained your brain in a certain way?
Yeah, no, definitely. No, it definitely helped. The structure of things, the learning of the, having to remember the movements, do them in a repetitive format. I think that definitely helped. And then also it helped moving on to teaching, and obviously I taught children, so having to know children's names, is. You've got a group of 30 and you say, hey, the one kid that you need to look, the one that's being naughty, then they're not going to turn around unless you know their name. So I learned that pretty quick. So I think, that was that. But I think that the martial arts, even if it wasn't with the memory, it definitely helped with the focus on things, So being able to actually focus on individual aspects of things, it definitely helped with that. So, yeah.
So going through school then, when did you start to think, I'm going to run my own business, or I'm not going to go to uni? Talk to me about that.
It's funny, really, because I absolutely, there's not too much I remember about school, but I do absolutely remember, and I think most of us that are similar age to me or older, you had like a careers class at school. And like obviously the teacher would always ask, and there would be the regular things. And I just said then, I'm going to run my own martial arts school. And I think I probably got laughed at a little bit. The teachers are thinking, well, okay, yeah, whatever, and why don't you look at being a police officer? That might be good.
No,
So they were, because there were no books on, they were asking because then they give you the information of, this is how you take the next step. And I was just like, I'm going to run a martial arts gym, school, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, no, it was just. I don't remember making the decision. I think it was just always.
It evolved,
always there,
then.
really. Yes, yeah.
It evolved. Yeah. Okay, so does that mean you started when you were 16? You started a business when you were 16 then, if you didn't go to uni?
Not quite. So I did go to, my parents asked me to go to college and just do college, and then I could do whatever I wanted. I went for about 6 weeks, and I just wasn't really feeling it. I just didn't really. I remember I had like lessons from like 9 to 11, then a gap, and then another lesson like 2 till 3. So I waited from this like 11 till 2 time slot. I went into my next class, and I just remember the teacher saying, "Go to the library and research this topic." And I was thinking, I could have done that for the last 3 hours that I've been waiting for. So rather than go to the library, I just went home, and I said to my parents, I want to go and teach. I don't want to do this. So I got a job, kind of like it wasn't a franchise, but it was like a commission-based teaching role. So I was doing some sign-ups for a martial arts school, and then teaching, and then it just kind of went from there, really. So I was actually 20 when I actually started my own business, but I had been teaching or helping out since I was like 12. So it was always kind of something that I was doing.
So give us a whistle-stop tour of what it was like the first day when it truly was your own business.
Yep.
Up to the day you sold it. So give people listening a sense of the scale of what you did.
Yeah. So I took over. My old instructor actually moved to the US, which is funny. So so he actually moved to the US, and I was still running his schools at that time. Some of them had been taken over by other instructors, so I was I was running a small group, probably about 80 members, if I'm correct, about 80 members. And then I just got to the point where I thought, like, why am I not doing this for myself? So we had a conversation. We came up with a figure for me to take over the existing students. My parents lent me the money, and that was it. So yeah, one day I was doing it for somebody else, and the next day I was, the fact that I could take over a small group of students helped, and then it just went from there. Really, I just think the moment that it was mine just made me even more passionate about it. Doing the things that really needed to be done to grow it, and it just went from there. Really, we grew some really good relationships with the local schools in Swindon. So we just kind of grew from there. Really, honestly, really steadily. There wasn't like ever a huge, jump. There was one time I do remember we used to teach at the Hayden Centre 2 times a week, and they doubled our hall hire rent like overnight. I think it went from a council facility to a private facility, and they doubled our rent. So we decided to move. And it's funny. So going back to teaching David, I had to find the new location on short notice because we had 2 nights a week, and obviously we were down to 1. And I was like, I'm going to lose all of these people. There were maybe 30, 40 members at the time that were training that evening. So I was like, that's a lot to lose in one. We couldn't find anywhere close to the Hayden Centre because Westlea's kind of close, but not that close. Like what, 15 minutes?
It.
Yeah. And basically, but that transition for moving from there, we went to Westlea. That kind of just helped to catapult it to the next level, because I was thinking, what if we have no one sign up at Westlea? We lose all these people at Hayden Wick. I think we lost 2 people. They all transferred from the Wednesday to the Monday, so now the Monday class was absolutely jammed. And I think the first week at Westlea, I think we signed up 48 members. So I thought we were going to lose 40 members, and we gained 48 and lost 2. So that was a little bit of a catapult, and then we just really grew steadily from there. We opened up satellite locations at different venues. We had the main site originally in Old Town, and then it moved to Stratton, and then just the other locations that we talked about. It just kind of grew steadily from there.
I know something else you also did quite early. I don't think you realise this, because you were such a heads down person. You probably didn't notice too much what other people were doing. But you did the recurring revenue model really early, getting people to pay by direct debit a certain amount a month, being able to predict income, rather than getting people to pay piecemeal for the classes that they turned up at. You did that really early on. That was kind of that was from day one. Really, it was originally standing orders, and then it changed to direct debit. But we always had a monthly membership model. Just because again going to the gym, not everyone signs up and then doesn't go. So if people are paying you, for a per class model, that just doesn't really work. You don't know who's going to show up. But it also keeps them more motivated if they know they've got that commitment per month. Yeah.
And also we taught a lot of children, so we need the kids and the parents to be motivated, right? Because if either one of them's off, we need the kids to be excited about wanting to go, and then obviously the parents need to be seeing the value, but also that if they paid for something, that the one day the kid doesn't want to go, you're probably going to force him to go a little bit, which helps.
You were also really good at milestones, celebrating.
Yep.
And you had the thing that made it easy to do that, new belt.
Yep.
But you always made that a real celebration on a separate occasion. So children always felt successful, even though in David's case, there were a couple of times he didn't quite make black belt, and he was upset, but he always knew he'd get there.
And I think there's even with martial arts now, there's a lot of just show up and get the belt, and I didn't really ever like that model of things, so I do, in life there's setbacks, right? So I mean we were trying to teach those things within our lessons. So I just feel that I think the thing a lot of people miss is just the communication thing of that, like I think we were always very good at, or you went through the process too on the other side, but if we knew somebody wasn't quite ready, it wasn't like we made them go through everything and then said, oh, by the way, you failed. And then you go, I'm not going ever again. There's the upfront conversation, maybe the difficult conversation of, hey, I don't think you're going to be ready this time. I would recommend you come and give it a go. And I'm not going to say no, but there's a chance that you're not going to make it. And I think that makes it a little bit easier for them to try the process, see how they get on. Think, oh, actually, that grading wasn't as tough as I can do that, and then you get these things right. And then, that's kind of the process that we always wanted.
And I've noticed that after that happened, that David would, throughout his GCSEs and throughout his, not A-levels, his BTEC, he would manage our expectations in that way. He would use those words. He'd say things like, I'll be really pleased if I get a C on this because I don't think, and it's not my priority.
Yeah.
I mean, he did that because his third subject was film studies.
Yep.
He said, I'll be really pleased if I got a C, man, because it's not my priority, really clear. And I don't know if that's a boy thing or a David thing, because the girls weren't like that.
Yeah.
He actually got a B, so
it was
fine.
Well, it was good, yeah. He was just underplaying it.
Yeah, he would underplay it. So he would, he'd never overpromise.
Yeah, that's good. Under promise, over deliver.
Yes,
They say that. They say that's a good. They say that's good.
So when you were growing it, then let's talk about the PR side. How did you reach people? How did you communicate and expand your reach? How did you do PR?
Yeah. So I mean, for us, I think we always focused on doing a really good job with our students. I think so. Referrals were always really good. So I think we organically got people to refer us, but also they need a bit of encouragement on that as well, So actually letting people know, not in any kind of forceful way or you need to bring a friend, but letting them know that it is okay to do that. Whether it was a day that we invited people to come, so they had a kind of a safe place. Well, this day I know I can bring somebody along, and then we did probably most of our growth really just came through schools. So building relationships, because I just felt that. More often than not, parents taking their children to a particular school, I know it's based on location and where you live, but you've more often than not picked that school. So there's some level of trust. So when Westlea are saying, we vetted Gareth, we vetted this business for them to come in and whether it's hire the hall or do a free session, I think that just helped us to add some credibility. And then I think by doing a good job and the teacher seeing that then led for growth. We went to Leiden School originally, and I think then we got into 6 or 7 other schools from that. And then we did a lot of networking just at school events. When they're talking about out of school clubs and those kind of things. And then prior to that, we did a lot of marketing, PR in terms of we were in the town centre, handing out leaflets, speaking to people. There was a very kind of boots on the ground and go and actually meet people to begin with. But then as we grew, we sort of moved away from that a little bit and did a lot of work with the schools and then word of mouth through our actual, or our existing members.
So can you remember, how did you make first contact with a school that you did not know?
So several ways. So a couple of the times, obviously, all the kids that were already going to schools, right? So, if David had come to a class and hadn't been at Westlea, we have a good relationship. You would hopefully think, oh, David loves the class, or whoever loves it. So through our parents, and honestly, quite often it was just me going. I would go into the school. I'd go into the front desk and say, "Hey, can we?" This is what we offer. Is there anything that we can we help you with that? Is that something you'd be interested in? And again, most of the time we got told no, but it only took 20 visits if one said yes. And then I felt like once you've got into that one, it's funny. Some of the others that had said no, now we've been there and done it, they would then be like, oh, actually, So it's a little bit of validation. I feel like with schools,
and schools watching each other. I guess.
Yeah, and they're seeing something else is going on.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks. They're doing that, and I think then too, there was a big push for there was a change from adding out of school activities, whatever that was, whether music, sports, martial arts, whatever it was. I think there was a little bit of so we got we were doing that at the right time. There was a lot more private after-school clubs rather than the school or the teachers doing those after-school clubs. Actually moving to an outside group providing the outside activities. So yeah.
So I'm going to come on to how things changed for you in a minute. But first of all, okay, I'm going to put you on the spot now. For someone listening to this, doesn't matter whether they are in the UK, Europe, US, wherever they are, what's your 3 top tips for starting a business?
3 top tips. I am on the spot. So I'm not going to think about it too much. I'm going to say the first things that come to my mind. First of all, I do think you have to love it. I think running a business is small, medium, large, whatever level you want to get to, it is difficult. I think if it's something that you don't love, you're going to just not do the work. It's going to be too much hard work. So I do think there needs to be, and also as well, I don't necessarily mean like you have to love. Like I loved martial arts, but then also loved teaching. So any business where I'm helping or teaching, that would work for me if that makes sense. So I think like sometimes we focus on the thing like the martial arts, but really I could have been teaching football. I could have been teaching, whatever it is. So I think, but yeah, you have to love the thing that you're doing, or you have to break it into some. It might not be the actual thing that you love, but there has to be some level of kind of passion involved, I think, to push through. Secondly, I think find out what really you need to make the business grow and do those things. I think it was really easy. I know I spent a lot of time thinking I was busy, doing nonsense tasks that I could, especially nowadays, I could easily have an assistant do or a piece of software do, and I don't need to sit and do all that. But I'm so busy. I'm so busy. Actually doing the things that make the business grow, which for most people is getting a new client. I think we all work, kind of in the business doing stuff that doesn't bring in any more revenue or any more clients. So the focus on kind of bringing in new people. And then finally, I think you just have to, third thing, honestly, you have to just do right by people, like whatever service you're providing, just make it the best you can be. And ultimately, I think that, we got a lot of our referrals just from doing what we were doing, like we weren't, as much as we thought we want people to refer us, but that has to come, if we're not giving good classes, I can ask you a million times to refer somebody, you're not going to unless you like the product. No. So
no,
was that good? Yeah, I think
excellent.
Yeah. So
I'd have put passion as number 1.
Yeah.
Because passion, it's easy to be passionate on a good day.
Yeah.
It's hard to be passionate on a bad day, and there will be bad days.
Yeah. And I think if you don't like the product or you're not fully fully engaged with it, or even if it's something you're selling that you don't really believe in, like I say, I mean, I think making money can help, but I do think there needs to be a little bit more than that, like I think we should be doing something that we love, and then I think the money side of things, building the business comes with the passion, basically. Yeah. But
your life changed significantly, which ultimately led to a change in business. So
yes.
Share with us what happened.
Yep. I met my wife, basically. I guess is there's no other way to do that. And also as well, COVID, I think, played a part in that as well. So I was obviously I met my wife. She was living in America, so we were doing back and forth for a long time. I was kind of transitioning the business so that the people that were working with me could run it while I wasn't there, because I'd spent 12 years of my life there pretty much every day, apart from a couple of week holiday maybe here and there. And normally not in one go. I'm talking 3 days away, 4 days away, 5 days away, a week away, and then back to it. Doing something on the business every day. So I was sort of transitioning to those, doing a little bit more, and me stepping back a little bit. And then obviously COVID hit, which really hit the business pretty hard. Obviously we've got an in-person. We were just closed basically, right? I don't even know what the months were, but in a 2-year period, we were probably closed for 20 months or something. In a almost a year block, and then we're back for a little bit, and then when I knew kind of everything was going to close down, I decided to come to the US. And if I hadn't have come at that time. I didn't know. We ultimately wouldn't have seen each other for 2 years, is how that would have gone, because I wouldn't have been able to get there and she wouldn't have been able to get to the UK. So I had a flight already booked, so I decided to get on the flight. It was a Boeing 747, which I think is a pretty big plane, and there were 13 people on the whole plane.
Whoa.
So that's how many people were traveling.
Yeah.
We made a detour to San Francisco rather than going to Vegas, and I thought I was going to get sent back to the UK. They had police with hazard suits come onto the plane,
Bloody hell.
so I thought I was going to be, just...
You were hazard?
Yeah, I thought they're sending me back, right? Like, yeah. And actually, somebody had crept on from Spain, and they weren't allowed to travel at that point. So we were allowed to travel from the UK, but they couldn't travel from Spain. So I thought I was getting taken back, but no, the people that had been from Spain trying to get back to the US had gone to England, then tried to skip it, but they had checked the plane records and realised what they had done, so they got taken away. So so I got here and obviously thought, like everyone, this is a few weeks, right? It's going to blow over. And obviously, as we know, it didn't really blow over, right? It went on and on and on and on. So, I just decided to stay, really. And then that was...
and then she became your wife?
That. Yes, yeah. Well, kind of had to. If not, I wouldn't have been able to stay. So, But yeah.
No, we didn't. No, it wasn't.
No, of course. Yeah. I didn't only do it for the visa, but it had to be done. So, yeah.
So... You've made the decision to stay. You're making your life in Las Vegas. So how do you exit a business like that once you've made that decision? Because you didn't make it lightly, did you? No, and there was
probably always it was always going to... We kind of went back and forth on whether she would move there, I would move here. I think it was probably the only option for me to move, really. Like, I think it would have been very hard for her to have, to replicate her life back in England at that time. So it would have happened, but I think it would have been a much slower process. I think COVID sort of gave me the kick up the backside a little bit. That it kind of has to happen now. So that's how that came about. But no, it was honestly, I that's what I did from the age of, like you said, basically 16 and then 20 till I was 31 when I moved. And even when I moved, it was tricky because I honestly thought I'd be going back in a month or two, right? Like at the worst, and obviously then it kind of just, and again, if I'd come back, Moana wouldn't have been able to come with me because the visa issues, and then I didn't know whether I'd be able to come back. So I felt like I had made the decision, but then it got sped up because of what happened in the world, and that kind of gave me the push that the decision's made, if that makes sense.
So I can tell everyone you're 38 now. You've stepped away from that business now and you're reinventing yourself. So tell us what you want to about that.
Yeah, honestly, I just like being a martial artist and then teaching martial arts is really all I'd ever done. So I could have just set up and done it again, but I just honestly just wanted to do really, I don't know, maybe it's strange, I know, but I just wanted to do something different. Like I just thought, it's a fresh start. Why not just, why not? So whether that was naive or I don't know, but I just thought and then obviously the opportunity came up for me to do some residential real estate, and just kind of went from there, really. So during the downtime of COVID, when we were all stuck at home, I got my license. I was lucky enough to meet someone that helped me to make the transition. But I knew pretty early on that the skills that I had learned would transition pretty well, and I kind of liked that it was something that, with a little bit of dedication, a bit of time, I could transition into. And I guess I kind of always I knew that the martial arts thing would always be a fallback if it didn't work out. So that's always an option, and it still is. I still love that. I would still love to be doing some teaching, I think. So maybe that is on the cards to do a little bit of that. But I would like it as more of a fun thing rather than a a have to thing, if that makes sense there. Yeah.
So for our watchers and listeners, tell us 5 things about Las Vegas that are better than the UK.
Obvious one, my wife's here. Right, so that was a good start, right? Yeah, good.
That's a good
I was on the spot too there, so good.
You got that one.
So that's number one.
Nailed it.
Obviously the weather. The weather is, in the summer it's really hot, right? So like it's 40 degrees, potentially 45, right? Like it is hot, but everywhere's set up, air conditioning, etc. So you're good as long as you're not out in the sun. But what I love the most is like it's even sunny in the winter. So like it's cold in the winter, but you open your curtains, you open your blinds, it's sunny outside. So like
it's not like
I love
UK
that.
cold then.
No, like literally, like I think the first 4 years I was here, it rained like 3 times, right? So like I love that. I love the sunshine. I think that's really good.
One more thing.
You said 5 things though.
Oh yeah, I think we said 4. Didn't we? What have we done?
We haven't done 2.
Have we?
Yeah, so I was talking too much. Yeah, and the weather.
The weather. Okay.
The food's really good here. Like I feel like being so close to the strip, we don't go to the strip very often, but from the offshoot of that, there's a lot of people that have set up their own, local places for food and things like that. So I think that's really good. I like the opportunity. Like there's a really good, entrepreneurial kind of spirit, I think, where a lot of people, they go from maybe working in a service industry job and then having their own business to some degree, whether that's a restaurant, a coffee shop, whatever that is.
Real estate.
I like that. Yeah, I like the opportunity there, and honestly, there is a good feeling about Vegas. I think I've met some good people here, and I do like. I wouldn't say it's necessarily better than England, but people are pretty friendly here. Where I think like in England we can be a little standoffish. I do like that they're very engaging. If that's the way I can put it. So. That's probably what I would say.
Things that you miss then. I'm not going to put a number on that.
Things that I miss. I miss my parents, honestly. Like that's that's the biggest thing for me. And again, it's the obvious one, but my friends, I've had some friends that I've had for 20 years. It's not easy you don't build those kind of relationships up in the few years that I've been here. So again, I've been lucky that my wife had a really good group of friends here, so obviously I've kind of integrated in with that. But it's not the same as friends that I've had back home for 20 years. So they're probably the 2 main things. I don't really miss anything I'm a pretty in the moment kind of person, So I'm probably I don't really think about things. When I go back home though, there's certain things I miss. Like. Roast dinners aren't quite the same here, Unfortunately, you can't get those things. You can't. You can get again, it's cliche. You can get an afternoon tea, but it's not the same. It's not the same as back home. So yeah, just small things like that. But there's nothing that I really notice on a day to day, apart from friends and family, really.
What's it like integrating all technology, phones, all that stuff we're so used to in the UK, and you've got to recreate it in the US? That's a faff, isn't it?
No, honestly, everything was a faff, to be honest with you. No.
Tips.
Yeah.
We have talked about this.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the tipping culture.
So everything to change over was a pain. I think for the first 4 years, I had 2 phones, a UK phone and a US phone. It's I had different accounts for stuff in the UK and then stuff. Yeah, so no, it is a bit. It's not as seamless as you would think. Even silly things. I'd used American Express my whole life, completely separate. So I can transition my UK American Express account into a US one, but then I lose the points that So I thought it'd be seamless, but it's not seamless. So you're basically starting over from zero. You have zero credit, zero. Yeah. So very different. Everything's different. How they do things. Even setting up a phone here is very different. Everything's different, It's like, how insurance works, all those things. It is completely different, which I didn't really think about. But it's, I felt like I had no idea what was going on.
You've been quite self-sufficient, but for a period of time when you moved here, you would have been quite reliant on Mo. It was almost like a role reversal, traditional role reversal.
Yeah, no, of course.
Talk about that.
No, everything for me was figured out in the UK, and I'm literally one minute I'm there and the next I'm So it was I was I'm lucky in that front, that she helped me with that transition, because ultimately, luckily I still had the business back in the UK, so it wasn't like I wasn't like done with it. I still ran it from here for 4 years, doing kind of the behind the scenes work. So that still worked, and obviously then allowed me to transition into real estate and do that kind of gradually. It wasn't like a rip off a plaster Band-Aid for the Americans. So the transition was, and also COVID made it really weird though, because even like Moana was off, right? So like we were just up. It kind of felt like I was on a holiday for 2 years almost, right? Like I was here. Like this isn't my life, if that makes sense.
Because you've referred to it. What does a Moana do? You don't have to say where she works, but what does she do?
So she works at Nobu as a cocktail server at Nobu. It's a high-end Japanese restaurant.
And it's a very well-respected role here. Maybe not so much at home in the UK.
No, it's very different. And like I said, we said about the tipping culture of I think here in Vegas you can make a real career from that. Where I think kind of in Europe we almost treat it as it's something maybe you do while you're at college or or university or whatever. It's kind of a little side on top of something else, or something you do kind of as you're when you're younger. But here it can be especially with some of the high-end restaurants that we have, it's not cheap, so it can be a career path that people take.
And I mean, it's worked out very well for her. She's obviously really good at it. How are you dealing with the tip? We talked about this last time we met in 2023. You're 2 years on.
Yep.
I find the tipping here insane. Things like I go into a shop, I pay for something at the till, and it says, "Do you want to tip someone who's serving me at the till?" That would never happen in the UK.
Nope.
So we tip in certain circumstances in the UK. I mean, if you've got used to that.
I feel like it has got a little bit worse. I feel like when you go to a restaurant here, the level of service is higher than the UK, and I know that I accept that I'm paying for the food, and then obviously I'm having service, so that's a separate. There's two things that I don't like. I think now there's a tip for like anything, right? Like you're paying for a service and then they want the 20% tip for the service. That's a little bit strange to me. You're not giving me a food. You're not giving me a product. You're already giving me a service. I'm get a massage, or you get a haircut, and then there's a tip on top of a service. I find that
if I'm
that's
mentoring
strange.
somebody in business and I agree an hourly fee, I don't then sit there and say,
and I never finished a martial arts class at the end and said, "Oh, David did well, right? And you were that was brilliant." And and you're paying whatever it is, £60 a month, right? $100 a month. I don't say, "Oh well." I don't stand with a tip bucket. So it is. I thought that's a little strange. And then my only other thing that I don't like, having been here a while now, I have no problem in tipping, right? I just don't like the expectation that you should tip 20%, because sometimes then people get very, how can I put it? They don't do their best. The service has not been that good. Then they expect a 20% tip. That's the bit that I don't think is good. I'm happy to tip for good service, and if someone's gone above and beyond, but it shouldn't be a baseline of I just do my job. I take the order. Everything kind of comes out on time. I check on you and say, is everything all right? And then that's an expectation. Does that make sense?
Or they're grumpy. Well, I mean, we had one cabbie who didn't speak to us the whole journey.
And then would expect it.
But still expect a tip. Yeah. Have you ever said no? Have you ever refused to give a tip?
Yeah, for sure. No, definitely. For sure. There's been times when the service hasn't been good, or not even that. It's been really bad. So there are times. There are times. But it's I feel like it's almost just like you almost factor it into the cost of So if you're going to go out for a meal and it's going to be $100. That's 120, right? Yeah. Like that's kind of the, it's kind of the way it is.
And the final thing I want to say is I rather love the fact that your hair is almost the same colour as mine when it's not dyed purple.
Yes. No, I don't know. It crept up on me quick, that did. And then I've just kind of gone with it. So I kind of like it. So
I
yeah,
like
I'm
it.
not. Yeah, no. It's funny because when I'm getting where I get my hair cut, she's a barber, but it's at a salon, and people always ask me like if I get it coloured like that, and I'm like,
I get that
no,
a lot. I mean,
no, I'm not trying to look older. Like no, that is
people
my.
clearly
yeah.
know that the
Yeah,
purple's not
yeah,
real.
yeah.
But when it's gone completely, it's now completely white at the front. People often say to me where I've got it done, and I
Yeah.
would say, nature.
No, yeah,
Nature,
exactly. Yeah, so
genes.
that's yeah.
Right.
So yeah, no, so that's I always find that funny when they but I think it's kind of in now too, isn't it, to have that that kind of blonde or bleached kind of.
We're definitely in.
So
We're
yeah,
in.
so I think it's
Yeah,
working.
we'll
Yeah.
embrace it as long as possible.
Yeah.
So look, Gareth, it's joyous to talk to you. We
no,
could
no,
talk for
yeah,
ages.
yeah.
But where these days can people find you and follow you and just see what you're up to?
Probably, all the usual places. I use Instagram over anything else.
Okay,
that's
tell
probably
people
the
where
best
to
place.
find you. Tell them
So
your
it's
handle.
_Gareth Davis, one word, Gareth, and then Davis is Davies, the Welsh spelling. But yeah, it's probably the best place.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's all.
Thank you. I hope we'll do this an update.
Yeah,
another time.
we
It's
will.
great
Yeah,
fun.
no, for sure.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thanks very much, Gareth. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the chat with Gareth. I'm sure that I'll be speaking to him again, probably in a couple of years' time when either he's in the UK or we wend our way to Vegas again. But thanks so much for watching and see you again soon.